Ellie is not incompetent. According to a lot of you, Ellie has been represented as dumber and less capable than the previous seasons. And you've also used this specific clip from the Last of Us podcast as proof of your findings.
Abby seemingly is not like Ellie, in that Abby is incredibly competent.
See? Even the creators admitted that they made Ellie incompetent on purpose. No, that's not what happened. Firstly, let's talk about context. In this clip, Craig is comparing two separate scenes. This one involving Ellie questioning Mel and Owen, and the next one involving Abby holding up Tommy and Ellie. There's a clear difference between these two characters' actions, and it's obvious that one of them is better than the other. Ellie has twice shown that she is not very good at this part of revenge. Joel didn't teach her this, and because she doesn't do things correctly, things go horribly wrong. Abby, on the other hand, is extremely confident in these types of situations. She takes control, she shoots first, and she asks questions later. She incapacitates, and then she talks. In fact, if you listen to the rest of the clip, Craig Mazin says this exact thing.
And when Abby shows up in a theater, she doesn't screw up. She gets Tommy on the ground as a hostage. She shoots Jesse the instant he comes out the door. She is in complete control of the situation.
Context is important, and we should also note that when you are listening to materials meant for marketing, you are listening to an edited and often excerpted portion from a longer interview. Anytime they sit down for these featurettes, they will probably talk for 45 minutes to an hour at a time, and in the end, sentences and comments are cherry-picked so that they can present the information to you in the quickest way possible. In this case, this was the easiest way to state the differences in approach for these two characters. That's it. It's also worth mentioning that these moments of incompetency are the exact same for Ellie in the game as well. She screws up with Nora, causing her to run, and she doesn't take control of the situation with Mel and Owen, resulting in their deaths. The details of these respective results may change, but the cause is still the same. Ellie screws up. She doesn't take control. She doesn't go in there wanting to hurt anyone. She hesitates. All of the things that Abby and Joel would not have done. That said, Ellie is still shown to be competent throughout Season 2.
Almost looks like they were fighting each other. Somebody hopped onto the shed, climbed the downspout, broke the window, and got cut on the way in. This way! They're overconfident. It gives us an edge. Because you're the one who can't get infected. Then wait, get her out!
This is not even mentioning all of Season 1, which you're supposed to, as an audience member, carry over your knowledge from to help inform the characters. The problem you have is that Ellie's competency is actually expanded on this season to include things that aren't action or killing specifically.
I am asking you. No shaking. Knives or run.
Ellie is also competent in all of these moments, but because she's not showing the competency that you want, you have a problem. Two things are happening. One, our side characters are being expanded upon to be more competent in areas that are normally reserved for Ellie in the game, so that they actually have something to do in the show. And two, Ellie is actually shown to be more competent in things that aren't related to revenge. And that's important. Because Ellie, if we're being honest, is not good at revenge. When we see things that are important to her, like her relationships with Dina and Jesse, her wanting to be a dad, more on that later, her ability to play guitar, and her vulnerability she shows to her friends, even her ability to sacrifice herself for others, what you're supposed to be seeing is a version of Ellie that is layered on top of the Ellie that you already know. What you're also supposed to be seeing is an Ellie that is the true Ellie. If she wasn't so racked with grief, if she were able to let Joe go, if her addiction to revenge wasn't so all-consuming and had a tight grasp on her, then these are the things she could be. This is what we should want of Ellie, which makes it all the more tragic that she becomes obsessed with her own loss. Killing is an important part of Ellie's character in the game, I get that. But the show can't be, and never was, the game. If Joel or Ellie killed as much as they did in the games, then we'd be watching Rambo or a John Wick movie. This is a show about trauma that just so happens to involve zombies, and it's not interested in becoming an action film. The Last of Us was never about Ellie's body count, but they had to put action in the game because it's a mechanic, a puzzle, and you as a player have to experience conflict in this way. Otherwise, it's not a game, it's a cutscene. The show gives you the same thing, but in proportion to the story that they are trying to tell, because they don't need to be constrained by the same mechanics. Where you see incompetency, I see humanity. I see a person who struggles to be all the things that she wants to be, for herself, for others close to her, and ultimately, after losing her purpose at the end of the first season, is searching for where she now fits. Where should she put her energy? Where is her purpose? This struggle causes her to falter, to let others down, to have weaknesses. These things also come to a head when Abby eventually shows up at her door, and you realize that she spent 3 days floundering around Seattle only to have screwed up multiple times, failed in her ultimate mission, lost some incredibly important people, and her trauma and purpose are still nowhere to be found. This is where we find her at the end of season 2, and that's a lot of what season 3 is supposed to expand on. Maybe she's not as good at revenge as Abby is, or was, and that's ultimately a good thing, because we don't want to see Ellie become the monster at the end of the book. We don't want to see her be Joel 20 years from now. We don't want her to be Abby, who showed up in Jackson several months ago and did some truly horrific shit that, spoiler alert, did not solve the trauma and did not fix her. When or if that part of Ellie were to truly take over, then the other parts of Ellie that we have gotten to see would be well and truly gone. And I don't think that's what we want. Your gauge on competency all depends on what you want her to be competent in. And from what I've seen so far in season 2, Ellie is not incompetent.